Being a star just means that you just find your own special place and that you shine wherever you are. Dolly Parton. Welcome to Casa De Confidence, a podcast for you. You'll hear some incredible women
and some awesome, cool dudes
going confidently in the direction of their dreams and living in the purpose of their heart.
You're our host,
Julie DeLucca-Collins, and you are our sidekick. # handsome hot husband.
That again.
And the producer of the show.
That I am.
I am an author, speaker, coach, dreamer, and most of all,
we help people go in the direction of their dreams
and support them on their purpose. So pull up a chair,
grab a drink,
and make yourself at home because our casa
is your casa. Did you know that the Dolly Parton show was a staple in our house when I was growing up?
I didn't know Dolly Parton had a show.
What? You didn't know she had a show? She had a variety show.
I mean, listen,
back in the late 70s.
She can have
80s.
everything. She's pretty brilliant.
We used to watch it. She used to sit on a swing and sing.
Oh, that's charming.
It is charming. We should find some old episodes.
We should find a swing.
That's funny.
I'd like a swing. Can you put a swing out in the backyard for me?
Well, I was going to do a quote today, but it has nothing to do with the episode, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Okay, go for it.
Fences make good neighbors. Robert Frost. That is Robert Frost, right? Yes, I think it is.
I believe so. But don't quote me on it.
In the, I'll quote Robert Frost.
I'm fading a little bit
allegedly. So the only reason that I wanted that quote is because we started repairing our fence outside.
Oh my gosh! You know,
we had a little section of the fence that was wood and it was rotten, and we're putting up that little section. We're replacing it with vinyl fence.
It was dilapidated and sad and a little embarrassing, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. But here we are, happy house, happy wife.
Julie has assisted setting a fence post for the first time in her life.
You know, Dan makes me do a lot of things that are for the first time. He also made me help him replace the roof in the porch during COVID. We replaced that roof.
Mm-hmm. You helped me out a little bit with that. That was very nice.
A little bit. My God, I helped you out a lot.
Oh, yeah?
It was hot as hell. Ugh.
It was hot. You never burned yourself, though.
Well, you know, I use sunscreen and a hat.
No, I burned myself on the roof because it was so hot.
Oh my God! How would you burn yourself on the roof?
Because the roof is dark, it collects heat from the sun, and it gets very, very hot.
Well, then you weren't wearing sunscreen, Daniel.
It's physically hot, not like burning like the sun.
Okay,
it's physically hot.
Gotcha.
Spoken like a true Florida girl.
I wouldn't call myself a Florida girl, that's for sure.
Well, you have lived there. And
yeah, but not enough for me to claim it as my own.
So, welcome, everybody.
Yes, welcome, everybody.
So, Julie, what's going on in the life of Julie DeLucca-Collins today, other than fence building?
You didn't eat the beautiful sandwich I made you, apparently.
I haven't eaten it. I ate the potato salad. See, it was so good it made me stutter.
I would be careful with potato salad because apparently I made potato salad yesterday and I added eggs, and I don't make it very often, but apparently I don't know how to peel hard-boiled eggs because I destroyed them before I could even. That was probably not.
I've got a top tip for you.
Yes, put them in cold hot water. Cold hot water. Jeez, Louise.
Put them in a bowl of water and ice.
Yes, but we don't have ice. We didn't have ice. We did not have ice yesterday because we have an ice machine on the counter, and I did not turn it on in time for me to have ice for the water. Yeah.
Anyway, so you're just super cool all by your own.
Oh my God, he's buttering me up. Lord have mercy.
Or I'm just tired.
Yeah, listen, that took a lot out of us. We're out of shape.
We are super out of shape. We need to pick a project every weekend and get ourselves, physically acclimated to actually moving and doing things.
First of all, I do some yoga stretches, and I've been doing so consistently at least 3 to 4 times per week.
Well, we need to lift things and move my body. Things. So you keep limber.
I keep limber and building my strength.
We need to
you told me, because we had to move the bags of cement, and you said, do you think you can lift it? I said, of course. And I did.
That's 50-pound bag.
Yeah. Well, hello. I have some strength in me.
Oh, I know you're strong. You're very strong. I mean, yeah. But,
I'm incredibly strong.
I wanted to make sure you're okay with that. Because like at work, at my work, if it's over 50 pounds, it's a 2-man lift.
Oh, well,
that's kind of most EH&S guidelines are like
2-man lift, I would say 2-person lift.
Oh, 2-person lift. I am so sorry.
Come on.
So
it's not the patriarchy here. Hey, you know what I'm excited about next week?
What are you excited about?
Well, we have the New England Podcasters Gathering. And we got to speak to another New England podcaster this past week.
We did.
She's got a really cool podcast called The Big 4-0. And it was so fun to, first of all, The Big 4-0 is the name of the podcast. And Stephanie McLaughlin, who we know from the New England Podcasters, she started this podcast right before she was about to turn 40. And she wanted to have 40 drinks with 40 friends in 40 different places. And each drink would lead to something new and exciting and really celebrated that friendship. And she documented her experience in the podcast. And eventually she just kept going with the podcast because, oh my gosh, who doesn't want to talk about all the things that she shares in her episodes, which I've been really enjoying the episodes because she talks about obviously reflections, the magic of how messy it could be when you're in this middle. Also resigning yourself, right, to not be the family fixer anymore. There's another one that I started to listen to, and I haven't finished it, is turning pasta into a paycheck. And that sounds really cool. I want to know about that.
Oh my gosh. If I could convert all the pasta I ate over the course of my life into a paycheck,
well, we'll be rich.
Holy cow.
And then we would have somebody else installing the fence. I just said that you ate a lot of pasta. Sorry, boo-boo.
Thanks. Well, it's true. You say what's true. Hey, Julie.
Yes, Daniel.
Got a question.
Okay.
You like Mel Robbins, right?
I like Mel Robbins.
You do? Well, what does Mel Robbins and a certain media powerhouse have in common?
Well,
let me answer this for you.
Okay, you can answer.
No, you answer it.
Well, I didn't know where you were going with this. I mean, I know Mel Robbins and our guest, Katie Riess, are both showing up on purpose and they get things done. So, yeah, I think that's what they have in common. What do you think they have in common?
Did you like my transition over to our guest?
Oh, it was so smooth, Daniel.
It was so, yeah, well, it's kind of smooth, but.
Yes.
So, Katie is a former CBS, NBC, and Bloomberg TV producer turned PR strategist.
Well, one of the things that I love about Katie is that she's not here for fluff or just the press releases. And I've gotten to know her. I met her through Rita Goodrow's Mastermind. And in full disclosure, yes, I've gotten to know her. But even if I just met her through podcasting and she came on the show, I'm really impressed by the work that she does.
I know. She's the stuff that she does. It's like non-fluff stuff or press releases. Like you hear from PR, she helps thought leaders, authors, entrepreneurs be more real and without the smoke and mirrors. And she's worked behind the scenes with booking politicians who have shaped the national narrative. And now she's helping women like many of the listeners here get clear on their message and land dream the dream gets, like features in Forbes, Fast Company, CNN, you name it.
Well, okay. So here's the thing. We did talk a lot about PR. I asked her the question about what has she thought about paying to play, because I know that a lot of our listeners have paid to be featured in media. And we talk about that. She has an opinions. Now, the other thing is that I love that she talks about the quiet expert crisis and what happens when brilliant women second guess themselves and their voice, and the world basically misses out in their amazingness. And this is why you and I do what we do with the podcast production and supporting others, because we have met some incredible women and we know that their area of expertise is something that somebody out there needs. And anything that we can do, like Katie does, of helping them put themselves out there is incredibly important.
So, like, if you've ever thought that you're an expert in something and you have that doubt about that, and you're enough of an expert that you should put yourself out there, this episode is perfect for you.
Yeah. If you have doubted yourself, doubted your expertise, and I want to tell you, let's get into this brilliant and bold interview. Because Katie is not only a friend of the show, but she's firmly grounded. And I can't wait for you to get to know her. And if you listen to this episode, I also want to encourage you to send us a message. DM me on Instagram and tell me what you think of this episode and what you thought of overall Dan and I putting ourselves out there a little more visibly.
All right, on to this interview with Julie and Katie.
Another day and another superstar at Casa De Confidence. And I have been looking forward to this interview in particular because I've gotten to know her through the mastermind that I belong with the wonderful, amazing Rita Goodrow. And if you haven't heard Rita's episode, I'm going to link it in the show notes as well, because Rita is one of these experts and incredible human beings that you have to get to know. I've learned a lot from her, and I am excited to have someone who is also an expert in her industry. I went ahead and launched my book in 2021. One of the things that I did is I had some publicity, some interviews in media, and it is definitely something that you need someone helping you navigate, because as you're trying to, one, build authority, bring your message out there, you want to make sure that you have the right person in your corner. And by the way, our guest today, Katie Riess, she knows how to make stories stick. She has over 15 years as a news producer at NBC, CBS, and Bloomberg TV. So we brought you the best of the best. So tune in for this episode, everybody, and thank you for being here. Welcome to the show, Katie.
Thank you so much, Julie. It's amazing to be here with you and having gotten to know you over the past year. Really.
Right?
Yeah. And I love what you guys are doing with the podcast and all the speaking and things that you're doing as well. So you are one of those people that gets your message out there. So I applaud that for sure.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. It's always fun to hear, right, that you are doing the thing and that it's actually being done, right? Because sometimes we think, oh, I'm putting myself out there or I'm helping people. But at times, right, we all kind of need that extra check, like, okay, I did it. Did it work or did it not? I put a podcast episode last week, and surprisingly enough, I got an email from someone that was a brand new listener, and they actually went out of the way to find me, email me, and they really validated that episode. And I thought, oh, good, because I knew this was an episode that I really wanted to share, that I really wanted to talk about, and she got it. So I thought that was very fun. But I think
that's amazing.
Many people put themselves out there and they're not having success. They're not understanding how to navigate so many different things, because they are so many different things. And I want to kind of talk a little bit about that. But before we jump into that, I mentioned you were a TV producer. What was that like? And how did you get there?
I always wanted to do news, believe it or not, since I was probably in junior high. My mom always had the news on. We always talked about current events. I always
Mhm.
found it fascinating. And I said, I want to be one of those people that brings the news
Mhm.
to people, one of the first people to know everything. And got a job as a producer anchor right out of college, and then came down here to the DC area,
Mhm.
and got my master's degree and my foot in the door at NBC, and really never looked back at that point. Being in
Amazing.
DC was really exciting.
Mhm.
My parents were actually bummed that I turned down a weekend anchor position at the station I was at to leave to go to grad school. They were like, wait, what?
Oh boy.
But it was amazing. And I've done just about every type of producing job there is, every shift
Mhm.
there is, every type of story. For
Mhm.
CBS, I was booking a lot of the big political guests
Mhm.
and celebrities that would come through DC. I was also chasing some exciting stories, some tragic stories. Just,
Mm.
it was exciting. It was a lot of work. It's
Mhm.
not as glamorous at all as it looks like. Everyone asks me, are those TV shows like The Newsroom when it was on, are
Mhm.
those real? And most of them are not real. It is all
Mm.
the drama without the
Yeah.
sexiness of those shows, or the morning show, for example.
Yeah.
Those there's a lot of politics involved in TV
Mhm.
news, obviously, even more so now that it's basically in DC all we cover.
Yeah, that's right. You are in
Um,
DC. I lived in the DMV area, and I know how crazy that could be.
yeah,
At least from
yeah,
my end as a viewer, right? Or as a consumer of the media. But I imagine that it's more than pressure because this is really where a lot of the news is stemming from too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's where I wanted to be to do news, and I'm
Mhm.
really glad that I did. And my story is that when my son was 6 months old, I turned down a job at CNN. I was kind of freelancing around doing
Mhm.
different producing jobs for bigger companies, the World Bank and US
Mhm.
Airways and things in DC, and decided I didn't want to do those hours. My husband also works in the news,
Oh, wow.
and his schedule can be unpredictable.
Mhm.
Um, Also, and I just didn't want to do those crazy hours. It would have been long nights and
Yeah.
weekends and traveling and really
Mhm.
immersing myself in the politics. And I thought, this is crazy because this is what I've been working for my entire
Mhm.
career. And I'm going to turn this down to be with my family
Yeah.
more. And I started PR.
Okay.
I had a friend pull me into it. I kind of went kicking and screaming at first, which is
Mhm.
really funny. Um, because I had roommates in college that were PR majors, and I was like, oh, all you do is write press releases, right? Like, I'm a journalist. I do the
Mhm.
real news. Like, I go out and do the real stories type of
Right.
thing. And here I was 15 years later, turning to PR and learning the world of PR and learning how to do a successful book launch and how to launch a podcast and how
Mhm.
to get your message crafted so that the media would be interested in it. Because that is really what people don't realize is how different we all think,
Mhm.
with your message and your book or whatever it is, and how the media
Right.
thinks. So it's very, very different. So
Mhm.
I started in PR and I loved it. I
Yeah.
absolutely fell in love with it. I was actually helping people when I thought I was helping people before by doing the news, by
Mhm.
presenting, great stories and leaders and all of that. I was kind of just helping media conglomerates get better at their job,
Mhm.
more money, higher stakes
Yeah.
things. And now I'm actually able to help people get their messages out there. So now I'm
Mhm.
actually doing what I feel like I was called to do. So it's
And
been
you're good at
really
what you do.
amazing.
By the
Oh,
way, I've
thank
learned
you.
so much from you, and I know that other individuals who are part of the mastermind, I mean, you're our go-to, and we need people like you that has navigated all the different facets, right, of
Hmm, hmm.
something that we need to really be familiar with and be in front of, and not everybody is comfortable. So we need to have someone that knows how to navigate all of that.
Yeah. And I don't shy away from telling people what I think is the best avenue, so to
Mhm.
speak, and I think people appreciate that. We have all different kinds of clients that we help get in all different kinds of media, but I
Mhm.
do a lot of messaging work. It starts with your message and your audience
Mhm.
and really, really, really being confident in those.
Yeah.
And then we kind of figure out the rest based on that. And I think that's where some people kind of miss the mark a little bit with
Yeah.
PRs. They kind of skip right to, oh, what's your media wish list? Like, let's
Right.
get you on this particular show or podcast or whatever, without really saying, is that where the audience is though? And what's the message that that
100%.
audience wants to hear? I mean, doing a
Yeah.
podcast, what your audience is and
Yep.
what they are interested in.
Yeah. And that took a while. And I will say, when I launched the podcast, and I know this is very different from what a lot of people do, it was never my intention, right? I always wanted to do a podcast. And when we launched, it was because I wanted to do a podcast, not because I thought it was going to support my business, get my name out there, or make me really be able to forge relationships with people that I can collaborate with and really build a brand. So as the show, again, we did very well in the very beginning, and that was fantastic. But what I find, even going back to those episodes, is that there's no consistency in the message. When I figured out, like, wait a minute, this is how people find me for my business as well, I better have a message that is really tailored to the listener and not just for everybody. Because if I'm talking to everyone, no one's going to tune in. And that was
Right.
a big switch that I had to make.
That's one of the things I always say. If you try to reach everybody, you actually reach nobody. So it's good to really tailor your message to the audience that you want to reach, which
Yeah.
is not be everybody.
Yeah.
Because we are not all for everybody. So.
Yeah. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's perfectly fine. I think that in my 30s, I worked very hard to be all kinds of flavors, but
Right.
it's not it. And you're not, in my view, when you are trying to do so many different things, then your values, right, are not something that are in the forefront for you. At least that's
Mhm.
how I see it, because you're going to do this, you're going to flavor yourself that way, you're going to accommodate these people. So somewhere along the line, maybe you don't have the clarity in your values that says, oh, you know what, that's not for me, or I'm not in that place right now. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I see struggle, not only with people trying to build authority, right, but also
Yeah.
as they're building a business.
Yeah. And it goes back to your message of confidence. If you're confident in your message, you're confident in your values, that your message goes along with your values, and you're confident in your audience, that your audience will be there, it all falls into place. It really, confidence is a big, big factor in that and a big key for that. And we are entering a time when experts don't feel the confidence to really be
Yeah.
speaking out right now. And I'm calling it the quiet expert crisis, because there's a lot of people out there that right now just don't feel confident in what they, are saying, even if it's not controversial, even if it's not political.
Right.
I'm sitting here saying, well, why aren't you putting that out there? Why aren't we trying to get you in articles on that or interviews on that? And they just don't have the confidence to really speak to their expertise. But we need to shine a light on that. We need to flip that around so that people feel comfortable being the expert that they really are and being able to showcase their thought leadership. It's one of those, I think the whole expert genre or title was really tainted with all these people coming on and saying I'm an expert in this, that, and the other, trying to influence people, and not to knock on influencers, but we need experts, not influencers right now, to be speaking up, and it's the show me, don't tell me. Show me how you're an expert. Show me how you can help people. Show me what you're doing. Show me what your message is. Don't just talk about it. Don't just say that you're an expert. But we need those people to be speaking out more now than ever.
Yeah, funny you're bringing this up. Yesterday, I had lunch with my girlfriends. We travel together. We try to spend time together, but all of us in one group had not been in the same room. And one of our friends, she is someone who I consider an expert in health and wellness. and she has a spa. She has a line of nutrition and also of face stuff, right? Like personal care products. But she really has spent over 30 years in this industry and has worked with people that are huge. Now, last week, she was actually asked to come and speak in the Governor's Council for Women and Girls that I belong to. And
amazing.
but I was not going to be able to make the meeting, and she decided not to go and speak because she doesn't have the confidence to be in front of people. And when I look at the world, and of course I come across a lot of different people, there's a lot of individuals who are out there giving their 2 cents, putting, messages out there, which, by the way, I applaud that, but they're not the experts. But the experts are really shying away from being out there.
Yeah, because they get overrun by the influencers who are really good at putting their messages out there, which, is good. But we do need the experts to balance out those individuals who are more on the influencer side than the expert side. That's a shame. I wish she had the confidence.
She had
to be
you.
able
I know.
to...
Well, we unpacked that all yesterday at lunch. This lunch, by the way, was a 5-hour lunch. I thought the restaurant was going to kick us out.
Those lunches, those are the best.
Fun. It was.
Yeah.
And so here's a question for you, because I think that in this conversation, right, there might be people who are, well, am I an expert? And what is the difference, right? And can an influencer then change or course correct to become an expert? And when does an influencer become an expert?
I think when you can really show with what you're doing, you can really back up what you are doing. So your friend, for example, if she's been in the industry, she's pretty much probably seen it all, right? She knows what products, she knows what they do. I think as long as you can really show that you know what you're talking about, and you don't even have to label yourself as an expert. But you have to have that confidence piece to be able to talk about or show what you really are talking, like what your expertise is in. And so it's really more about thought leadership. Yeah. It's really more about what you can bring to the table in terms of just even opening people's minds to something different. I mean, I would say that's more of an expert than anything. And you don't even have to label it as an expert. Maybe that's where people are getting tripped up. I don't want to be called out in not knowing what I'm saying. Well, if there is no refuting what you're saying, then there's no problem. And you also, a lot of times, thought leaders are not afraid to speak their opinion. Yeah. And are not worried about if there's anyone who's going to not agree with them. Like, that actually doesn't matter, because their opinion is their own. You can have a different opinion, and that's totally fine. You don't have to agree with me, but my thoughts are my thoughts, and my leadership that I want to put out there is to just ask some questions or open someone's mind to something different. We have a client that it brings up for me right now. We have a client who his whole thing is really about mattering, and how with friendships, with just every type of relationship, with boss, employee, with everything, if you feel like you matter and you help other people feel like they matter, it just makes everyone have this cohesive feeling of togetherness and inclusion and just everything that a relationship really needs to thrive. And we're trying to put out his message of mattering. And it's sticking in certain places, but not in everything. But he's okay with putting it out there and seeing what works and doesn't work. And if people are like, yeah, that's dumb, he's like, all right, on to the next thing. He knows he's the expert. He knows he's onto something a little bit more unique. And it's not just, oh, here's a tip for bosses to make their employees feel like they're part of the team and all of this. Like, no, it really comes down to mattering. And he's getting really specific with it. And I've been applauding him through that process and saying, no, we're trying something new. And yeah, it may take a little bit longer to catch on, but you're going to be in Forbes, you're going to be in all these places, which he will be next month, but you're going to be in all these places talking about this because he's bringing his thought leadership and he's not afraid to have people dispute it.
I think that that's the case, right? And I really love that you're talking about him not, let's try it, let's do it. And he's doing the thing because that's how you're going to get enough information to know, do I need to course correct? Do I need to really double down on this? Is this resonating with people? And I think that so many of us, right? Because I've been in that boat, we think, oh, I want to put it out there, but I need to have it be perfect. And I need to make sure that it's the best thing
guarantees, ever. Right. There needs to be guarantees. And I always say, unfortunately, in my line of work, there is no guarantee of ROI. There is no guarantee of anything, but it's about doing it anyway. And that's where a thought leader comes into play, is doing it scared, right? Doing it anyway, even though there's no guarantees that it will do exactly what you want it to do or catch on or any of that. It really is just about trying it. And like you said, course correcting or just packaging it in a different way that for us, that the media and other places booking people to speak will really resonate with them.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, because I feel very strongly in this thing, and I really hate it when my clients want to pursue it. But I'm wondering for you what your thoughts are specifically because, right, just like some clients are very hesitant to put themselves out there, some are like, I'm going to do it all, right? So what are your thoughts on someone that is the pay to play? I don't like it, but what are your thoughts? I'm curious.
I have a lot of thoughts on this, obviously, coming from the journalism world. We never pay for interviews. And it's more things are becoming pay to play, more regular TV shows that I've booked on for years and years and years. Now I'm hearing there's one slot for somebody that isn't paid like per week, like not even per show. So getting those slots is becoming even harder, even more competitive. I think it's bad for everybody. I think it's bad for the industry. It's going to make it who has the money to do it versus who really can bring the most to the audience. And I think it's terrible. And I always tell people, if anyone guarantees you something, an interview, a byline article, whatever, if they can guarantee it, they are paying for it. And it will say it's sponsored, and it is not viewed the same as earned media. It just isn't. Earned media is still the gold standard. And I will die on that.
No, I agree with you 100%.
We try to avoid it at all costs. I mean, it's really the last resort. It really is. Unless it's something that really makes sense and it's not a hardship for the client. And sometimes we even pitch in if it really is important. But there's always ways to go around it. And I've been able to get clients on a couple of pretty big syndicated shows, because it's the syndicated shows that they want you to help pay for their syndication. So they charge you $5,000-$6,000.
Oh my God, so much.
There's always a way around it.
It's a drop in the bucket for some people, but I think that how much more could you not invest that money into something that can give you a wider return? Many people are so. I know someone. She is, in the last year, that's been her thing. She wants to be on television. Her message is not on point. She, again, speaks to multiple things, right? And she's willing to pay and couch herself as an expert. And really, she is an expert in one thing, but not everything. And by putting yourself out there, then she's also not creating the consistent presence, I think, that people really will say, oh, this is the person. Like, for instance, you think of Brene Brown, what was she talk? Vulnerability. Okay. They need to, Simon Sinek, leadership, right? We have to have and become synonymous with our expertise and our message, and sometimes really diluting yourself and putting yourself out there in so many different ways just because you want to be in the front. It's not necessarily advantageous or helpful to the people you're trying to help.
Yeah. And of course, I'm going to say hire a good PR person and spend the money, invest the money that way.
That's right.
It can help you in a lot of different facets, a lot of different areas, and not just, if you want to get on TV, that's great. That's the end result. There are steps, 1 through 7 before that come before that, unfortunately. And I think people realize when something is paid and it just doesn't have the same credibility.
Oh, always. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to do that, just go spend money on advertising. That's basically what it is.
Of course. That's basically what they're doing. It's an advertising expense. There is in the local news here, I'm not going to mention which one, but there is someone who is on the morning, and I don't watch the news anymore really, but I know she advertises on billboards and she's on the morning news almost every day. And it is a paid, right? It is a paid spot. And, she might be talking, because she's an attorney, and she may be talking about all the different things. But if I had to hire somebody in that lane, she may not be the person I want to go to, right?
Yeah.
Just because she's there, I'm seeing her, but I really would rather have someone tell me, hey, I know this person and this is the person you want to go to. And if the morning show had that person and I really, and it was not a paid, I would value that information more than someone who's always paying to get in front of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess that's my 2 cents on that too.
No, I feel very strongly about it. We try to avoid anything paid as much as possible.
Yeah.
And it makes me really bummed that so much regular news programs, and they used to have one sponsored segment. And I'm not talking like the 6 p.m. local news, but more the lifestyle shows that you see in the like later morning or even the national stuff. A lot of times the national stuff, you have to come up with some creative ways. You have to come up with some creative ways to donate to a cause or give away 3,000 books or whatever to get into those segments. And it's just unfortunate because it just really lessens the chance of all these other people who aren't going to spend the money, but still have the same expertise to be able to be on those programs as well. And it's upsetting.
Hey, before we jump back into this incredible convo with Katie, I have a quick question for you. Is your podcast actually working for your business?
Oh, that's a big one. Because if you're putting out episodes but not seeing growth, engagement, or leads, then it's time for a checkup.
Okay, and that's why we offer the podcast audits at Casa De Confidence Productions. Whether you're just launching or you are into 100 episodes, we'll review your show from top to bottom, your messaging, your format, your growth strategy, and give you a clear, customized feedback on the show.
We'll tell you what's working, what's not, and how to turn your podcast into a true authority-building, lead-generating machine.
Okay, well, if you're ready to grow your audience and actually get results from your podcast, go to casadeconfidence.com/audit and book some time with Dan and I.
All right, back to the show, and trust me, you'll want to take notes on what Katie shares next.
So now, who, in your opinion, right, because we see a lot of different people out there and we hear their messages, but who does PR and media right now? Like, who is that expert that is really someone that we can say, okay, this is kind of the path we should strive to go through? Who would you say is doing it right?
The person that comes to mind is Mel Robbins.
Yes.
Right now.
Agreed.
100%.
100%.
I have her book right here, actually. Like,
yep.
She, because she's so authentic and she really waited until she had the right message for the right audience.
Oh, 100%.
She had another book before this one. And that one sort of put her on the map. But this one now, she's been on Oprah. She's been on all the major podcasts. She's going to be on my client's podcast in a couple months, which is exciting.
Oh, she's on my list. I want her on my show too.
Yeah, she's being very selective and she's going out on
sure
tour
she is.
soon. But I think the way that she it was kind of like her PR machine definitely grew as she grew, but she still did, she still will do the not super well-known podcasts or shows because she really wants to get to a wide, more niche audiences. And she's just really, I think, stayed as grounded as she can be with all this recent fame that she's gotten.
100%.
But the way that she's done it kind of organically, which I know is hard for people to be like, well, how do I copy what she did?
You can't copy it. You can follow the recipe because she's unique, but you can follow some of the recipe that she's used, I think.
Her recipe was just being herself. Her recipe was just being really open and honest and not trying to be everything to everybody like we talked about, but just really staying in her lane until she hit the right message. Yeah. And then it kind of blew up.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and one of the things that I love about her, and I think that I'm so proud, right? Because she is currently the #1 podcast out there. And she knocked out the big guys from the top of the list. And this gives me such encouragement that the message of women and a woman sharing not only her message, but herself with the audience is going to then resonate and is going to then create the impact, because at the end of the day, right, she's helping people and she's putting the content out there, talking about menopause, talking about ADHD, talking about moving from Boston to Vermont. What was that like? All of that, right? It's something that someone can see themselves in the message and say, oh, if she has the courage to talk about that, I can explore that or share it or be, look to get help, whatever it might be, right?
I would be curious. My question for her would be, did you ever really consider yourself an expert? I would be curious to what she would say to that, because I bet she would say no, but I did it anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Well, when I get her on the show, I will ask that and I will credit you with it.
Ask her that for me. I really am curious. And I think her answer would be that she was just authentic and more of a thought leader in that space and really is thought provoking for people.
100%. I love that. She really is someone that in this space of podcasting. And again, I love what she's been doing, the way that she's been putting herself out there, and we need more voices. And this is one of the reasons that in the past year and a half, 2 years, right, we started helping people with podcasts, but it was mainly kind of Dan's like, oh, I'll help them. But the more that I realized that a lot of people struggle. I mean, you give me a microphone, I'll take it, I'll talk, whatever, but not everybody is like that. And there are individuals who have such gifts that people need. So anything that we can help them to put their message out there and help them build that authority and help them build our business as well, right? That's something that we became incredibly committed to, because this is the realm, especially for women, right? It's a little harder to get out there because you look at the top podcasters again, you're going to see between Mel and Call Her Daddy, those are the only top 10 for women podcasts. Except when I get there, because I'll get there one day.
Except for when you get there. Yeah. Yeah. And it's more than a little hard. It's still amazingly a lot harder for women to get there. But that's why, all these women, even if they don't consider themselves experts, should really be figuring out the messages so that they can speak out.
Yeah.
because we're not going to get there unless we do. And that's really one of the main things I've been trying to encourage people lately. Nothing else. If nothing else, think about it. If nothing else, think about or talk to someone you trust about how can I have my message be clear enough? How can I be confident enough? Like your friend, how can I be confident enough to speak my thought leadership and really be putting it out there so that I can try to lead the way for other people? Because if we all sit quietly, nothing is going to happen. If Mel sat quietly, she would not be where she is.
She would not
today.
be where she is. Absolutely. Now,
you come without a lot of confidence too, though.
Of course. And that's, and by the way, if you haven't heard me talk about this, I want to remind you the confidence is not going to come from all of a sudden you feeling it. It's going to come from you finding the evidence that you are doing it, that you're getting better. And that only happens when you take the first step and do it imperfectly. Fail and say, okay, let me see how I did that wrong. Let me try again. And continuing to do that. That's confidence. It's not like I feel great today, right? Because that's not.
Yeah, you don't wake up feeling confident. You build it.
You build it. Absolutely. Now, when you work with clients, some of the things that you support individuals with is strategic book launches, all-inclusive media placements, and one-to-one consulting. So if someone maybe has never thought of leveraging the expertise from someone like you, where should they start? Should they do it all? Should they be very selective? What are your thoughts on that?
I think the best thing is to get on a call with me and we kind of go through everything. I have some strategic questions that I ask to see where people are with their messaging, with their confidence level, how much we need to do work on that first. There are a lot of people that say, I just don't know where to start. And if I can build that roadmap in a short period of time, then we do that and we're off to the races. And we really are building the momentum that they need to really get their message out there. If their message still needs, which this is a lot of people, they know I kind of have a message. I think I'm an expert, or I think people would really be interested in what I have to say. And I just don't know how to kind of package it all together, but they need some of that confidence to put it out there too. We really, one of the most fun things for me is seeing everything that they have and putting it all together in a way that is authentic to them. Their message is really clear. The audience is really clear. A lot of times the audience is what trips people up. Like, I know what my, they'll send me my bio, the background, and I'm like, yeah, but this is how we need to redo this to make it attractive to the media, so the media makes it attractive to their audience. And they're just kind of missing the mark on a couple of those things. And we work through that in one-on-one sessions. That's the one-on-one consulting that I do a lot of, to get people to a place where then they are ready to go with putting themselves out there for media placement. The getting the media placement part is the easy part for us. It's the kind of the end result of the pre-work that we have to do ahead of time. And then book launches, those are really fun. And those come to us in every shape and size. Sometimes we have people coming. I have one woman right now who said, my book doesn't launch for almost a year next February, but I know I need help feeling confident in the plan going up to it. Like, can you and I work together, starting pretty soon to really come up with what that timeline is and the plan and everything and really supporting that way before we even get into media. It's getting all the pieces together. And some people, I have another woman who her book launched 2 weeks ago. And now she's like, okay, now I realize that I really need help and I really want to get it out there even much more than I can do all on my own.
Right.
So everyone's different. And that's what's really nice for me and for my team is that we get to experience all different types of thought leaders in all different arenas at all different stages. And we really just try to assess what people need the most and how we can help them the best way possible.
That's so good. It definitely is a place that A lot of people are either selling you the course or giving everybody has to follow a one size fits all. And I
It is
really
not
think that
cookie
it's
cutter.
not. Yeah.
No, nope.
No.
It doesn't work well that way. I've been through, the group things, or I've been through courses and things like that. And I'm always like, but this doesn't really pertain to me or my team or anybody. So it's really individualized, which is, which is what you're paying for. Also, you're paying for us to really dive in and figure out and meet people where they are and figure out how to get them to their goal. Because we really want to meet that goal. Like, what is that main goal? People sometimes don't even realize it's the first question I ask them. You wrote a book, but like, what is the book for? Because the book is just a piece,
right,
of the marketing. It's usually someone's tool. It's not the end result. And so what is the goal you're trying to reach with your overall business or just in your overall life? And they're like, oh my gosh, I think I know that, but maybe not sure. So we even start there. And then how we can support getting someone closer to that goal with either media or events or, a book launch or whatever it is.
Yeah. I have to say, I always wanted to write a book, and I wrote the book, and I did have PR. I did do some media, but the program that I followed was a one size fits all. And I did have, it was good coaching, but not as individualized as I wish I could have had, because, and yes, my book still opens doors, and I still, have such a rewarding experience from doing that. But I know that I could have probably placed myself in a more strategic place using the book. And even to this day, I had Melanie, she helps individuals with the book writing, etc. And she's like, you're not promoting your book. You should be talking about your book every time you're doing a podcast.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, okay. You're right.
It doesn't matter how long ago it was. Yeah. It's still new to a lot of people, and it's still going to be something that you can promote. That's why it's so great. As a tactic for, it's kind of the modern day calling card or a business card, right?
Business card. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's something, I would definitely encourage you to be talking about it as much as possible. It's hard after it's hard. Been out there for a while. It is. It's hard.
Well, here's the strategic plan that we have internally at Casa De Confidence. I talked about doing the audiobook, and I've recorded parts of it. Now, a couple of clients have come to us and have said, hey, I have my book and I want to do the audio. Can you do it? And of course, my husband, Dan, right, producer extraordinaire, says, give me a minute. I'm going to figure it out. And he's figured out how to do the editing for books. And darn it, he's good at it. So now I'm like, okay, I need to leverage that too, right? Because that gives me the opportunity for another launch. I'm relaunching the book. It's coming in another form, and it makes it relevant again. And I think that this is a great opportunity too, hearing your advice, right? Still talk about it and go and share, because it's new to people as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Can you launch the audiobook and tout that your husband edited it for you? And it's a perfect entree into saying, hey, have him do yours too.
Actually, that I'm creating, I have to talk to Rita about this, because this came just out of left field last week, and I had a call with her, and of course I have my plan of what we're doing, and now it's like, oh, but I want to promote this too. And I know she's probably going to say no, but whatever. But I still feel that this can't be part of the offer, right? So much to unpack. I could probably talk to you all day, because this is incredibly fascinating to me. It's always something that, if in another life, I think I would have loved to have gone into a very similar path, or not exactly being a producer or being on TV, but maybe being in the media and getting everybody's word and messages out there, because I love that.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. But
it's a lot of work. People need to, again, leverage the right expertise. And these people that are listening, perhaps they don't know how to build their authority. They're intimidated, and they're not taking the step to share their expertise.
Right.
I firmly believe they need someone like you, and you are doing it in a way that is very specialized and individualized for others. So it's a good plan. Now, you have the best PR media plan that people can download?
We have a couple of things that people can download on our website. One that's a really useful tool is the content calendar. So every year I go through and pull out all the news events or news anniversaries, topical and timely things that people can start to think about how their message fits into that. For example, May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yep.
There's usually a lot of things people can tie into that. But if you have this calendar and you have it in front of you, you can download it free off our website and print it out. And there's a space for notes and write all over it and say, maybe I could find a podcast that we could talk about this topic, or maybe I can write an article that fits this topic and see what media might be interested in it. And then I think if it's not in there, I do have another tip sheet on how far in advance to pitch media, because I get that question a lot too.
I saw that.
And we do have, beyond that too, we do have a 5 steps for it's kind of like a challenge, 5-step media challenge, that's more of getting your message ready for media. So what do you do in these 5 steps? And it makes it more manageable for people to kind of, sometimes people like to do that before they get on a call with me to say, okay, this is what I came up with. So I'll send it to them, but it really helps. Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Even better yet, I think that this will be really fun. Maybe you should come to my mastermind and the Confident You ladies. Maybe this can be like a little challenge for all of us to go through, and you can walk us through it.
Together, and I'll walk you through it. Yeah. There's videos of me kind of explaining it in there, and there's the transcripts too. If you're not wanting to watch the whole video, you can kind of read through it. And it kind of just, at the end of it, are you going to have a polished media pitch? Close. Yeah. Close. Yeah. You'll have something, if you follow it, you'll have something at least that you could send me, and I'll take a look at it and
people need a win, and you're going to give it to them. It's going to be a win. So incredibly grateful. Now, again, you have to come back, Katie, number 1. Number 2, if someone is listening, and I am really a big proponent of taking action, because we consume information and then it kind of goes away or gets filed away. It happens. But if someone is listening and there is one tangible thing that they can do to maybe, grow their presence in PR media, or really build their message, or really place themselves as the authority, what is one quick win that they can get and they can implement this next week from what you and I talked about?
Yeah, I think it is download the calendar and go through it and pick one thing that you can tie your message to. Just one thing for the rest of the year. So it's not daunting. You don't have to do it every month. You don't have to do it every week. Just one thing from that calendar that you can tie your message to, and think about one medium, whether it's podcasts, whether it's, something online or digital or TV, something, and take a crack at it. See how you can put your message into that timely, topical topic, and find somebody in that medium that you can send an email to, and just introduce yourself and say, I find this topic, really fascinating, or whatever it is, and just give it a shot, and just send them that you're the expert, and here's why. And here's what you can say about that topic. But make it, so here's where people trip up a little bit. But make it so that it speaks to that person's audience. You're not speaking to that person. You're not speaking to that editor. You're speaking to their audience. So it's here are the practical tips I can give you. It can be something like Earth Day we have next month.
Yep.
I had a green expert, in green living, came to us and said, all right, for Earth Day, I want to do XYZ. And we took her message, and she was on 11 TV interviews and I think 7 podcasts, and had a couple of articles she was quoted in, all just for Earth Day.
Wow. That's awesome.
And it was really just one pitch. It really wasn't a lot of, and when I say pitch, that's like the topic that you're emailing somebody about.
Yeah.
It was the same for all of them, but it was a really good, timely topic, and it had practical tips that spoke to the audience in it.
So good.
I think just pick one and try it and see what you get.
Well, I'm learning a lot. I learn a lot every time. I'm surrounded with incredible individuals like you. I believe that, we need to surround ourselves with the experts, and you definitely are. You're an authority in what you do. You're helping individuals find the confidence in that PR. Thank you for being here. And my friends, if you listen to this, go and find Katie on her social. We're going to put her information on the show notes. Download the calendar, but go, more importantly, share her stuff, like her stuff, tell her what you did, how the calendar worked out. And again, we love to hear from you. Connect with her, give her some of that social media currency so that her message can also not only impact you, but the others as well. Thanks for being here, Katie.
Thank you so much, Julie. This was such a fun conversation. I'll be excited to come back.
Yeah, well, great. Can't wait for that. And don't forget, my friends, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Until next time, bye.
Thanks for listening to Casa De Confidence. We thank you for listening, and if you want more, go to casadeconfidencepod.com. Check Julie out on her socials as Julie DeLucca-Collins. And you can also check out her website at goconfidentlycoaching.com. Have a great week, and don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.
Hi, everybody. I know that sometimes we get very lonely in this entrepreneur journey, and I want to invite you to join us into our limited time only Purposeful You Mastermind. For many of us entrepreneurs, we believe that we can do it all. But the reality is that doing it alone only creates a lot of overwhelm. So join us at the Purposeful You Mastermind. You can find out more information by going to bit.ly/Julie's Mastermind. This is going to be the place where you are able to then unlock your full potential and achieve long-term success for your business. Push you behind your current limits, expand your connections, discover new ideas, and implement them with confidence. You're going to get the support in all aspects and transforming you to the 6-figure business you've been looking for. Pause and get off the hamster wheel if you've been spinning around. This is a time where you can get that support from like-minded entrepreneurs that are here to join you in your journey. Together, we can challenge the assumptions and land the speaking engagements and opportunities we want to grow our business and make an impact in the lives of people. See you then. Remember, you can find the mastermind at bit.ly, Julie's Mastermind.